Good evening. My name is Bob Shawman. High-speed drive to get over here. If there are a couple of police cars outside, you don't know me. Welcome to this special school district meeting. And let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. So would you all please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you like me to eat this? Okay. We have one warrant article tonight. Now, just to explain, this is somewhat unlike what we call Senate Bill 2. We will actually make a motion, it'll be seconded, and you will actually vote on the article tonight. If it passes, so be it. If it doesn't pass, so be it likewise. So let me read this in its entirety. To the inhabitants of the Jaffrey Ringe Cooperative School District in the County of Cheshire, qualified to vote in school district affairs, you are hereby notified to me at the Ringe Memorial School, the address, on Monday, October 2nd, 2023 at 6:30. The special meeting of the school district is being called pursuant to RSA 197:3-A to allow the school district to respond to statutory changes in funding which have taken effect after the adoption of the school district's fiscal year 24 budget, which resulted in an increase in the distribution of state funds for education to the Jaffrey Ringe Cooperative School District pursuant to RSA 198:41. The article reads as follows, and again, it's the only article we have tonight. Shall the school district vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $252,166, with its appropriation to be in addition to the amount previously voted for the support of schools at the March 2023 annual school district meeting? Such sum to be added to the general fund, and with such sum to come from increases in the district's adequate education grant, RSA 198:41, received from the state of New Hampshire in the current fiscal year, with no money to be raised from additional taxation. A simple majority vote is required. I'll accept a motion to that effect. John?
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second? Really? Christine? Thank you. Okay, Ruben, do you wish to speak to this motion, or John McCarthy, who wishes to speak?
Okay, this is additional funding made available by the legislature and the governor. It's responding to efforts on the part of legislators to increase school funding. And it's our feeling that we should respond to this by attending this meeting and voting to accept this money into our budget. If we look around at our schools, they've improved quite a bit over the past 5 years. And take a look at the parking lot out there. Some of you won't feel it because, well, you're not in the school all the time, but the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system has been improved markedly. And there's been many other changes and improvements to the doors, the floors, and the windows. But these are old schools. And from the Pratt Auditorium to the Ringe Memorial School to the Jaffrey Grade School, there are still a lot of things that need to be repaired, replaced, and upgraded to a modern standard. And one of the things that we decided as a community years ago is that these schools can be maintained and that we can continue to use them on into the future. And so that's what we're doing, trying to keep them in the best shape possible, get them up and then keep them up to modern standards. And even though our budget was approved last year, it was a healthy budget. But there's still a lot of things that we took out of that budget before putting it before the voters. So this additional money is very welcome. It will go to making improvements that we took out of our budget. In recognition of the impact on taxpayers. So this has no additional impact on the taxpayers, and we hope you'll support it.
Thank you, John. Discussion from the floor. Does anybody have a question? Yes, sir. Please step up to the microphone and identify yourself.
My name and Kevin Chamberlain Jaffrey. I just have a question. If we know what you're going to use the money for, if it's voted yes in the affirmative, but what happens to the money if the vote is no? Does it go to offset taxes that are from the budget that's in play?
Yes, Kevin, it does. The money would go back to the tax rolls and work to reduce taxes. I think we calculated that it might have a $40 or $50 impact on a $250,000 home. And yeah, that's the answer.
Charlie Eicher, Ringe resident. I'd like to read a statement into the record, Mr. Moderator. Simply put, a yes vote on this article means that we want $250,000 to go to the school district. A no vote means we want $250,000 to go to taxpayers to offset the local school tax. We either give $250,000 to the district or to the taxpayers. There are three reasons why I do not support this article. Reason one is that there is no documented plan for how this money will be used. I've heard verbal possibilities, but no plans for these projects, their cost, start and end times, or who is accountable. I don't think taxpayers should be buying a pig in a poke. If the district needs this money, we should know exactly how and when it will be used. Reason two is that the district can already afford $250,000 in its existing budget. The districts will save over $250,000 this year, mostly from unpaid wages and benefits for unfilled positions. In addition, it has a reserve of over $1 million that could be used if need be. So why does the district need more money if it can already afford the projects it wants to do? Reason three is that each Jaffrey taxpayer with a $250,000 home already pays over $4,200 in local school tax. A no vote means that the average taxpayer will get approximately $58 off their local school tax bill. Each Ringe taxpayer with a $250,000 home already pays $3,900 to the school districts. A no vote means that the average Ringe taxpayer will get approximately $44 off their local school tax bill. It doesn't seem like a lot, but just think of the thousands of taxpayers that would benefit if we return $250,000 to them. I think the district should be providing our communities with as much tax relief as it can. Wages are not keeping up with inflation, so every penny counts. In summary, the district already has a $32 million budget. It has $1 million in reserve. So why should we give the district more money for undefined projects when it can afford these projects if it wants to, especially when the alternative eases the tax burden on our community? I think the district is being greedy when there's no need to be. Please vote no on this article. I am. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Further discussion from the floor, please. Mr. Sterling.
Franklin Sterling from Jaffrey. I just went through a couple of years worth of the town reports. In between 2021 and 2022, the 22 tax rate went up $3.23. If you're still doing the $200,000 house, that's $600 plus. There aren't too many $200,000 houses in either Jaffrey or Ringe. They're more like 300,000 plus. Trust me, I know, I've been trying to sell them. Same time, town of Jaffrey from 21 to 22 went up 10 cents. In the last 5 years, the town's tax rate hasn't even gone up $1. We try and we try, and we face many of the same obstacles and problems that the school district does as far as fighting wages or funding wages and fighting inflation and finding ways to economize our budgets. And I think we do a pretty good job of doing that. As Mr. Eicher just said, giving this money back to the taxpayers is probably more than warranted. I think you're looking at over a $2 increase in 2023. So in 2 years, you'll have been up $5, $1,250 on a $300,000 house. That's a lot. Please, everyone in attendance, please vote no to this. Mr. Eicher gave you a very good explanation as to why. And I think we need some relief here. Giving back $250,000 is only going to be about 40 cents, 50 cents maybe on the tax rate reduction, or not go up that much. We need some relief. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sterling. Yes, sir.
Chris Ratcliffe, Ringe, school board member, recommended that this warrant be adopted. Just have a brief statement here. I am recommending that the warrant article to accept the 252,000 being provided by the state be approved. This is funding, to be clear, that the legislature, who's responsible for determining the cost of an adequate education, has determined be allocated to our school district to ensure an adequate education for our students. As a school board member, it is my responsibility to make decisions that are in the best interest of both schools and the taxpayers. The acceptance by the school district of this additional funding from the state does come at no additional cost to the taxpayers and will benefit our schools. We've had discussions with the superintendent and the administration, and there is a clear plan to upgrade our schools with this money, as Mr. McCarthy went over. It is for these reasons that I'm recommending that the audience approve the proposed warrant article tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion from the floor. Yes, please.
Sandra Stewart from Jaffrey. So if I am reading this right, am I to understand that when you come to us next year for money in March, that figure is going to be including what we voted on, which a whole bunch of people voted on in March of this past year, to this increased figure, which 20 people are going to vote on, and we're going to start at an inflated budget to begin with, because the tax portion of the school district went up $3 last year. And if you're going to start with a higher number, I don't know where this tax rate's going. And how many kids are in this school? That's what I want. How many kids are in this whole school system? Condell has had a decreased population, and we don't hear anything about that. How many kids are we actually educating in this school district?
the buildings and the gym. So we're gonna district this.
So currently, right now, we have just a little over 1,200 in all of our schools combined. So over 300 here, close to 300 over in the Jaffrey Grade School, and then close to 700 in the middle school, high school. That's those who are in attendance here. We do also have several other individuals, I believe 25 or so total, who we are responsible for their education, but that attend other locations. Another thing to think about whenever we are thinking about the budgets and so forth is that when learners choose to go or families choose to send their children to public charter schools or other locations, if they have special needs, the district is responsible for those as well. So we either send support over there or we end up paying those locations so that the students who are over in those areas are provided the educational services that they need, which could be another 50 to 100 individuals. To answer your question about decline, we had stayed fairly stable at 1,400 for several years. Since the pandemic, it had decreased. We've leveled off again for the last 2 or so years. At the number that we're at, we did have about 150 individuals, mostly at the elementary level, pull out of the school system during that pandemic timeframe, mostly in the town of Rindge. The middle school, high school numbers have stayed pretty steady.
Yes, please.
I'm Leslie McLean from Jaffrey. I also would like to add, we have between 20 and 25 homeschool students who take part in activity in the school as well, and that varies each semester. During budget season, I listened carefully to the presentations given by the superintendent. I read the documents provided. I heard that our budget could not possibly meet our goals. Our needs are great, but the board and administration were aware of the burden put on taxpayers and did their best to provide an affordable budget. I approved giving the school about $31 to $32 million. Now we have the opportunity to use $250,000. And I think we should remember all those discussions about the needs that wouldn't be met in the current budget, especially for facilities. If we return the money to the taxpayers, the impact to each household is quite small and will have a small impact for most individuals. But the district could put the funds to work in a much bigger, constructive way that is beneficial to all the students, all the staff, and the entire community.
Thank you. Further discussion from the floor? Yes, sir.
Hi, Nathan Flowers from Jaffrey. I heard a lot of arguments for it. Personally, I have some daughters that are in school, so I'm going to make an argument to pass this bill. Mainly because, as mentioned, the schools are old. I went to them for middle and high school as well. Something to keep in mind for all of the children within the community is, even as adults, if you're working at a place that is in disarray, you're not going to put a lot of effort into it. It's the same for our children in our community, that if they are in a school system that isn't, I'm not saying our schools are in disarray, but if they just think they are, they're not going to put as much effort into their education, which then affects their future. So this is why I think that I think this should go through. And that's it.
Thank you. Any further discussion from the floor? If not, I sense you're ready to vote. Would you like me to read the motion again? Is that a yes or no? Okay, I shall not read the motion. All those in favor of the motion as read a few moments ago, please signify so by holding up your card. Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion is passed in the affirmative, thus declared. Anything further? As there's nothing further, I'll accept the motion to adjourn this special meeting. Thank you. Motion's been made. Is there a second? Second, your name, sir? Thank you. All those in favor of adjourning signify so by saying aye. Opposed? Motion meeting adjourned.